Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me all right still?
Perfect.
Yes.
Can you hear the fan? Is it too loud?
You're okay. I don't know. We haven't talked about it, but yeah.
We're ready, Mr. Segura.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arencibia,
Present.
Hall,
Present.
Segura,
Here.
Solis,
Present.
Tarantino,
Here.
Aguirre,
Here.
Stubblefield. Here.
Great. We'll now hold a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Arencibia. Take it away, Dr. Arencibia.
Today's moment of silence will be dedicated to the victims and families impacted by COVID, which have hit both the district and our communities, families. So let's take a moment of silence, then I'll begin the pledge.
I got my camera. Stay.
Hand over your heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Arencibia. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. 1, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reclassification, reassignment, resignation, transfer, Government Code Section 54957. 2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 3, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. And 4, public employee performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957. The board took the following action: moved by Arencibia, seconded by Solis, to approve the request of leave of absence for 1 certificated employee with a vote of Arencibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. That concludes that. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the September 27th, 2021 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Stubblefield,
Yes.
Arencibia.
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. We'll now provide an opportunity for SDCOE Representative Dr. Mark Skvarna to make any comments, if you choose to.
No comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We'll now have an update from our superintendent, Dr. Aguirre.
Thank you, President Segura. This week marks our second week of our fall break, and I know that a lot of us were, during the summer, anticipating a different type of school year. But nonetheless, I want to acknowledge the challenges that this year has presented with the fact that we have continued to be in a COVID pandemic, particularly with the Delta variant. Having said that, I have witnessed the very hard work of all of our staff and the dedication of all of us to support our students being in person. I think it's important to acknowledge just how much of a challenge this has been, but I think it's also very worthy to remind ourselves that all the work that we do is to ensure that we can remain in an in-person learning environment so that our students can continue to have these experiences. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you to all of our staff for the hard work that has happened during this first quarter. Also want to take a moment to acknowledge that this is Adult Education and Literacy Week, September 19th through September 25th. So congratulations to all of our adult educators. Thank you to all of you. And lastly, I wanted to also update us with the fact that AB 361 was signed into law by Governor Newsom. That law, in essence, allows virtual meetings to continue to occur. So we will be bringing forth some findings in order to align our practice to this recently signed legislation so that we can continue to hold meetings as needed in a virtual space. So those are my updates for this week, and I also wanted to make sure that I just recognize the work that we all do, and also hope that everybody out there re-energizes during the fall break and gets back with more energy when we return next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. We'll now have a report from the Student Board Representative, Ms. Gabrielle Stubfield.
Good evening. I would like to discuss an issue that is highlighted in the media lately. In addition to climate change and student dress codes, our schools have experienced student disapproval over our current dress codes, and this has been shown through several walkouts and demonstrations. My plan is to work with Dr. Bravo, Dr. Moore, the staff of Student Services, along with the students of our schools, in leading our district towards a more gender-neutral and non-biased dress code. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the Superintendent's office for review and report. Thank you for your cooperation.
Our first speaker, are you ready, sir? Our first
Yes,
speaker
thank you, Deanne.
is Elizabeth Friedman.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, because I can barely hear all of you. So thank you for this opportunity. What I was called to speak about was the culture at Chula Vista Adult School. If this is the appropriate time, then I'll address that. The culture at Chula Vista Adult School can be summed up if you think of Edvard Munch's famous painting, The Scream. And if you need verbal cues, I would suggest despair, desperation, fear, and frustration, both on professional and personal level. I'm going to skip part of this because I don't want to go over my time limit. Although we've been told to have and adhere to seating charts, the fact of the matter is our students come in without computer skills and without computers, and although some have been supplied with computers, many have not, they have to use a computer bank. The computers are right next to each other. So these students are sitting shoulder to shoulder, and I have to show them how to use the computer. I am literally in their faces. I am inches away. If I were any closer, we'd be married. It is not healthy. Students sneak their masks down below their noses during class when they think we're not watching. One of my students, on his first day in class, defiantly removed his mask twice, removed it, and sat there grinning at me. After I kicked him out, I was ordered to take him back. I would not have taken him back had I not been ordered to do so. After the fourth such incident and dwindling attendance as a result thereof, he was finally removed from my class. Attendance picked up, the mood became jubilant, but it was short-lived. I found out he was merely transferred to my night class, where I have a student whose husband recently underwent a liver transplant. She doesn't need to have this guy in the class. 2 district employees recently came to my class right before the break to work on the fire alarms. They were in the class for 15, 20 minutes without masks. They had their backs to me. I was trying to do my job, so I didn't notice at first. Without masks. I told them to put on their masks. They left the room, wandered around campus, going in and out of classrooms without masks. So much for district training of employees. We are concerned about the lack of contact tracing. I understand the high schools have hired teachers to work extra duty doing contact tracing. In the high schools, when students fail to show up for school, it's a big deal. Attendance is mandatory. If a student doesn't show up, you're on it. When adults don't show up, that's their right. They come and go. We don't know why. Do they have appointments? Are they just bored? Do they just feel like sleeping in that day? We never know. And we don't have time to find out. Or maybe they have COVID. So unless we, the teachers, take the time to investigate on our own time, there is no way to know why the student is not in class. I recently found out 2 of my students were absent because they were sick. The only reason I knew this is because other students told me. I reported it. It took 2 weeks to follow through. One of the students let me know. She showed me her COVID testing negative results. The other student, I still don't know. She never came back. However, somewhat later, a couple of my students were called into the office and told that they had been exposed to COVID in my class. But guess what? Nobody told me. Nobody told me. I'm the one that's in everybody's faces. There's no seating chart for the teacher. Nobody told me. Plus, COVID hasn't learned that there's a seating chart. COVID doesn't know that they can't infect people who aren't sitting next to somebody on a seating chart. The rest of the students never would have known had these students not told the whole class, hey, guess what? I was just told.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt.
Something's not right.
Thank you for your
right. We were told,
Ma'am?
before we
Ma'am?
Excuse me.
the semester,
Ma'am?
that our new ionizers would protect us. We were told to keep the doors closed. Later, we came to find out that no, the ionizers only work if the AC is on, and they work best if the doors are open. So
Ms. Friedman?
Sitting.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes?
I'm sorry, your time is up, ma'am.
Okay, well, you get the idea. Let me just say, you're playing Russian roulette with our lives. Something terrible is going to happen. When it does happen, we'll be there to tell you we told you so. So,
Thank you.
thank you for
your
giving me this time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Kathleen Cheers.
Good evening. I'd like to begin by apologizing to Ms. Quirk and the dais for my comments on the M1 agenda item at the September 13th board meeting. I failed to research the item thoroughly. I would also like to thank Ms. Quirk and Dr. Aguirre for acknowledging my written apology. Closed session indicates you review the superintendent after only 6 months of his permanent position. Please consider such reviews be held in open session, affording all to hear the specifics. There is speculation a raise is imminent and drove this quick appraisal. Too bad a truly anonymous process cannot be found to hear the truthful opinions of the rank and file, their frank perspectives. District employees are desiring a raise. It is clear those negotiations have begun. Let us speak truth here. It is the rank and file who have, against all odds, held and are holding the district together. The county stated publicly the ball is in their court, yet privately claim they have no power. To date, the county has let us down, just like before. This board claims with due leadership there would be change, improvement. Specifically, where and what is the change? Do not insult us with the budget improvements. Do not take credit for that. It has begun under the previous superintendent before the change. Fact is, the CARES Act and additional state funding bailed you out. Those are parents' tax dollars. Trustee Aaron Sibia asked employees and the public to show grace to the board. Here is a suggestion. Why not give grace in monies our government mandated be used for students, to students? While you increase the salaries of this superintendent and legal counsel, our students are struggling and your employees are being taken advantage of. I would like to acknowledge Trustee Tarantino's consistent recognition of students, employees, and others. His comments never reflective of a paid political agenda. Following up on the org chart request, there needs to be transparency regarding each department in the district office. Hopefully, each and every department will be listed with names of department heads, the exact number of support staff, and the amount of salaries, including benefits which support these positions. I would prefer this process be public versus a PRA request. I thank you for your time.
Luis Pietroforte.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for giving me the chance to speak tonight. The issue that I'm going to talk about is the problems we're having with student behavior on campus since we have come back from a year of virtual, classroom. And I teach at Chula Vista High School, and we've seen a tremendous increase in, negative student behavior problems, both in and out of the classroom. Teachers are reporting that in their classrooms, students have been more disrespectful to them, than they've ever had to deal with in the past. I could name a number of anecdotal instances, but I don't want to take up the time. I know I don't have much time, and there's other people that want to speak. We have an instance also with masks, students pulling their masks down, things like that. But this behavior is not limited to just the classroom. Even teachers doing lunch supervision are frightened now of saying something to, reprimand the students about, changing their behavior, because they've had students that will just cuss them out and ignore them. So we have seen a tremendous increase, and this even goes up to the office staff are having problems with this. So I can say in my 20 years at Chula Vista High School, I've never seen behavior like this. And, we pride ourselves on a very positive culture at our school. And, in fact, our motto is, do the right thing. And I can't say that for sure if this is COVID related, being gone. We know that we've heard this is systemic throughout the district. And I wanted to come here to bring this up, and hopefully that, we can to present this to the board, and hopefully we can work together to find a solution for this, because as I said, we have found that this is happening around the district, and it is becoming a problem. So once again, I wanted to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Nick Marinovich.
Good evening. How's everybody? I wanted to kind of interject myself again in Sweetwater and make a few comments tonight. The first one is a very positive one in terms of the fiscal management of this district, from soup to nuts under Jenny Salkeld and her very competent staff. It is light years ahead of where it was a number of years ago, and significant recognition goes to her. I'm just hoping, that the fiscal condition of the district is, really impacted by the federal money coming in related to the pandemic. And hopefully that you can muster any audits as a result of that spending of those funds. Second issue that I want to cover briefly is your long-term trends in ADA. I would be, if I was a board trustee, which I'm not, I would ask periodically, what is the staff level in relationship to ADA? We have to get long-term for fiscal solvency to get the number of people in line with the number of students in this district. Third issue is the Security and Exchange Commission. I don't think this findings were a big surprise, but what was troubling to me, and maybe this is to be continued, is, nothing like the conduct that was identified in that study can occur by one individual in a large bureaucracy. There is no way, let me tell you, again, no way that occurred in isolation with the person involved. And it's just, I think we have more to consider in that. How did that happen and where was the audit committee? Fourth issue is scores or evaluation of the student performance. There's been several recent articles in the Voice of San Diego regarding test scores and comparisons and what they should be given the demographics of the district versus what the actual scores are, where you would expect a district like this, all other things equal, maybe to be lower because of demographics and a lot of income. And well, by any measure of the data, the Sweetwater district does not do very well. It just doesn't do very well. And it's very troubling to see that as somebody who has put a lot of time into this district. Finally, and I think you know this individually, trustees, you may think you can fool us some of the time, maybe some of you. There are no secrets in how this district is managed and what's going on. Believe me, there are no secrets in Sweetwater. Thank you.
Patricia Heredia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm calling regarding the culture and climate on our campus, not only as a parent, but also as a teacher in our district. I'm concerned with the anxiety and stress our students and teachers are under. The morale is very low, and a lot of the students are very fearful. As some other people talked about everything that's going on campus with the behavior of students, that is impacting other students as well as our staff. I have students that share that they're afraid to go have lunch in the Ranchway, which is our main area where the kids congregate. Due to recent lunch altercations, I have students that feel disrespected due to the lack of communication from administration with the recent Gender Bender Day. Especially the kids are just feeling like, yes, it was addressed, but they feel it took too long to be addressed. The lunch lines, the students are telling me, are super long, and that brings anxiety to students that really need it. Sometimes the lines are 30 minutes long before they can get their lunch. They're very concerned with the change in weather. They're wondering what's going to happen when it starts to rain. Right now they can sit outdoors, they can socially distance, they eat, but now that it's starting to rain, a few of them that I ran into over the break already have said, what's going to happen? How are we going to do this? And just like one of the other people shared, there are students who are not properly wearing a mask. Right before break, I had 3 different students in 3 different classes take their masks off and sneeze into the classroom. That really brought anxiety levels up to the kids that sat all around them. I had students, as they were walking out for the break, say, Mrs. H, can you please move me away from that student? The student's being very disrespectful. I have siblings at home who are too young to vaccinate. I have families who are immunocompromised. I cannot bring this home. They're very concerned about that. Let's see. The other issue that my students are sharing is that they're just overall concerned as, like I said, as they move forward, what is the school doing to make sure that they and the teachers are safe? The ionizers, they think things are working, we don't know. We were told that windows would be open. I have yet to be able to open my windows in my classroom, and the students are asking, when is that going to happen? I have no answer. So I just like the board to kind of consider these things as they're moving forward. How can we make sure that our students really are being safe and allowing our teachers to stay safe? Thank you.
Veronica Gutierrez?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Veronica Gutierrez. I'm a teacher at Granger Junior High. This year, my concern is about the climate in school. Like I've heard other teachers and other students, the same problems we're seeing, behavior amongst students being disrespectful with each other and also with the staff, not just teachers, but all staff. A few kids don't have consequences, or they're not being responsible for their actions. The safety concerns that some teachers are facing every day, telling them to put on their mask in classes that are 35, 38. So these classes are full. Another concern that has come up in our school is the vandalism during school hours, the bathrooms, the stealing of school property. And this is getting just worse day after day. We need more staff, helping during lunch. Maybe the district could think of hiring more people besides nurses that we also need. Probably the nurse needs more help, but also we need more supervision. Bringing back librarians so students could feel safe before school, during lunch, or after school. Having some kind of peer program. So maybe that's a second chance for students that don't behave. This is 20 years teaching. This is the most challenging year to keep my kids, students safe, to keep me safe, and to try to teach while everything is going on. I would really ask the district to really think about spending the money so we can keep our students safe, the staff safe, and make it through this year because it's a challenge. So, thank you.
Maria Teresa Harris.
Greeting board members. I'm reading on behalf of a colleague. I am respectfully writing with a concern that I trust you will work to address, as I am sure that you are aware the return to in-person learning has presented many challenges. One in particular that I'd like to speak on is the emotional health of our educators. A recent large-scale survey of educational workers found that compassion fatigue and symptoms of burnout are affecting the wellness of educators. New research from Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence and CASEL shows that teachers are more anxious and overwhelmed since the pandemic and in need of social emotional learning more than ever. Furthermore, a recent Education Week column says that there is a silent epidemic in education. Educators with nothing left to give. If compassion fatigue is not addressed, it can manifest in more serious mental and physical health issues. School and district leaders have a responsibility to establish an environment that not only allows educators to work on our emotional wellness, but encourages it. Educator SEL is just as important as student SEL. You cannot be there for others if no one is there for you. In order for us to best support our students as we adjust back to in-person learning, we must feel supported as well. This must come from within a structured system of support where our district formalizes programs and embeds them into our professional development practices. Now, more than ever, the wellness of our educators must be prioritized. One program that has shown such promising results is Educators Thriving. I encourage you to look into bringing such a program or others that are similar in nature to our district. The need is urgent. Respectfully, Viana Rodriguez.
Jessica Davis.
Good evening, Superintendent Aguirre and Board Trustees. I'm here to share some thoughts on campus culture and the stress we are experiencing. After 18+ months of dealing with the pandemic and the widespread reorganization of our sites due to over-accessing and the RIF, teachers, nurses, counselors, classified staff, and yes, even administrators are stretched to the absolute limit. We want to go back to normal, yet even the least jaded among us recognize that there were many pressing issues in education that needed to be addressed even before the pandemic hit us like a ton of bricks. Now we are so far from that normal that it is a distant memory. Our students have experienced unprecedented trauma, as have we all. Many of our nurses are at the breaking point. Our teachers are stressed, frustrated, and fearful for the safety and health of students, themselves, their own families, and their coworkers. Classified staff are dealing with the after effects of students' poor choices, having to clean up messes left by food fights and vandalism. Not to mention the fact that we are still understaffed, many students still do not have a permanent teacher of record for one or more classes. This has resulted in already stressed teachers being forced to cover classes during the prep period repeatedly. As an SEA board member, I have had the honor of hosting several meetings with sites in recent weeks, giving all participants space to share their concerns. And I'm sad to report that the same issues kept coming up. Frustration with both district leadership and site administrators, lack of resources and support, administration's failure to address student behavior issues appropriately, feeling overworked and underappreciated, SPED students' IEPs not being upheld, and SPED teachers not receiving their mandated IEP preparation time. Students have been stunted socially by distance learning, and that is reflected by the behavior issues that we have seen throughout the district. Fights, including the food fights I mentioned earlier, vandalism, contraband, persistent tardies and absences, academic apathy, refusal to wear masks appropriately, and blatant disrespect for faculty and staff, just to name the most pressing. Yes, there are many factors contributing to these behaviors, and as a result, we must approach the resolution of them with multiple tactics. Restorative practices can resolve a number of them, and that requires effective SEL and restorative practice training. If we are to truly effect change, we must consider suspension and expulsion as the last resort. That does not mean doing nothing, as reported by many teachers throughout our district. It means supporting teachers and staff by instituting true RP teams at every site that are empowered to meet with students and parents to devise consequences that are truly restorative and to help them identify the true causes and deal with said trauma. We must also find ways to engage students in addressing our collective trauma and rebuilding campus culture because, in all honesty, it is woefully lacking at most sites currently. Thank you.
Lucy Ugarte.
Good evening, trustees, cabinet, Superintendent Aguirre. Thank you for acknowledgement of our hard work this semester. I stand before you tonight as the organizing chair for Sweetwater Education Association. At the last board meeting, our colleague and vice president stood before you and asked for help. You see, we have been listening to teachers the last few weeks in order to better understand and serve. 3 concerns have recurred at sites across the district, and when I say across the district, I mean every single school site. Number 1, teachers are burnt out. Number 2, teachers do not feel valued, nor, number 3, supported by admin, particularly site admin. It is now my turn to ask the board and admin for help to fix this. Number 1, reach out to teachers and ask them what they need. 2, genuinely listen. And 3, support teachers by doing things that prove you value them. Lighten our load. Do not make it heavier. Prior to the pandemic, I repeatedly stood before this dais and proclaimed that just because you say it doesn't make it true. Underscoring that people must do things to prove their words. There must be action. They're not just words that say there will be work done. Tonight, my colleagues have shared experiences at their sites regarding campus culture. It is only a sampling of the hardships faced across the district at all sites. Trustees, ask for specifics regarding situations occurring at each school. You might be appalled. And request a plan to support those who work closest with students and follow up to make sure that that plan is implemented. Studies show that employees who feel valued and supported flourish in the workplace. If SUHSD teachers are feeling the opposite, we are not flourishing. We face rising healthcare costs, have had no raise in 5 years, and have taught and are teaching through the most challenging of times. We deserve to be valued and supported. Our students deserve teachers who are flourishing. Thank you.
Bibiana Martinez.
Are you guys ready? Okay. Hello, my name is Bibi Martinez, and I am a senior at Bonita Vista High School and the current president of Bonita Vista High School's Green Team. This is my eco club, and this year, various eco clubs within our district have been pushing for passing the end of fracking resolution within the Sweetwater Union High School district, but we haven't been able to make any contact with any of the board members regarding the resolution and adding it to the voting agenda. The Eco Club leaders of Bonita Vista, Hilltop, and Otay Ranch have sent various emails with no response. Numerous students within our school district agree with the resolution and are disappointed by the lack of interest and communication. Not every student could attend the meeting today, but they signed a Google form agreeing, with the resolution. There is a growing number of 217 signatures from various schools within the district, including Otay Ranch, Bonita Vista, and as well as Hilltop. This resolution has 4 main goals that the Sweetwater District should accomplish if passed. 1, the Sweetwater District urges the Governor of California to cease issuing new oil permits and to develop a more comprehensive plan for phasing out fracking in California before 2024. 2, the Sweetwater District calls on the Governor of California to keep his previous promises about transitioning California away from fossil fuels and existing oil production. 3, the Sweetwater District will continue to recognize climate change and climate justice as issues of importance to the Chula Vista community. And 4, the Sweetwater District will continue to transition to renewable energy sources with the urgency called for by the climate crisis. We decided to attend this meeting today to express our disappointment and hope that we will be heard tonight and be put on the voting agenda. Please think of our future, and all the following comments will be talking about how we would like to have this resolution on the voting agenda and present it to you maybe at the next meeting. Thank you.
Alexa Castrita.
Hello, my name is Alexa Castrita, and I am a senior currently attending Hilltop High School. I agree with this proposed resolution because it is essential to the well-being of thousands of students across the state. It provides a strong foundation for us to move forward in the fight against fracking, establishing limits and restrictions on oil drilling that will not only improve the quality of the surrounding environment, but of the life for those inhabiting these areas. I find myself disappointed by the school board's lack of communication with us, as it has only reinforced the notion that our representatives are not using their platform for the true purpose of their election into this institution. You are not doing us any good in ignoring us, but we will persist. This resolution must be added to the school board agenda and supported by you for the sake of our planet and the future. Putting this off further demonstrates to the student community across the Sweetwater District that you find no importance in the fate of our future. Please prove us wrong. Thank you.
Micah Alcantara.
What do you mean adjust? Oh. Can I still talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Evening, everyone. My name is Mika Alcantara, and I'm a junior at Bonita Vista High School. I am simply just a student advocating for change within our community, and I recognize that this resolution is a crucial step in combating climate change. The process of oil fracking isn't a new concept. It's a technique that's been harming our environment for decades. Fracking has led us to rely on exploiting fossil fuels, and with this, adding to the climate crisis. Do we really want another decade of destruction and harm? Can we please focus on developing a plan that transitions California to a better future, or a future at all for that matter? Not only am I disappointed by the lack of response by the school board members, but I'm also enraged that they aren't using their power and capabilities that they have to serve justice, especially when it impacts every aspect of life on Earth, the people, wildlife, and the natural world. Add it to the voting agenda. Nevertheless, I would like to briefly thank the district for recognizing climate change as well as climate justice as important issues. Please continue this. Climate change is affecting us faster than we know it. The World Health Organization has even informed us that between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year. Our lives are at stake. The second we recognize and acknowledge these problems is when we could finally combat them. Like I previously stated, I am simply just a student advocating for change, a single entity. But something we fail to realize is that the smallest voices can make it major. Thank you. Okay.
Maya Lofney.
Good evening. My name is Maya Lofney, and I am currently a junior attending Vista High School. I am here today to address my contribution and assistance to the issue we have addressed. Fracking and oil extractions are environmental issues that have been impacting many for decades. This includes our very own community. Modern fracking in California is a large source of greenhouse gas emissions, threat to our water and air quality, and can cause earthquakes. We are all here today in support of a resolution to urge Governor Gavin Newsom to immediately stop issuing new oil drilling and fracking permits and work to phase out existing oil while implementing 2,500 feet setbacks between oil sites and communities. Oil extractions via fracking are not only detrimental to the general public, but are specifically harmful to students and their education. Given that the Sweetwater Union High School District is a heavily BIPOC community that is Black, Indigenous, people of color, students are at an even higher risk. Fracking sites are more likely to be located in a minority-dense region, which is why it is that much more valuable to pass the resolution here. We are the people the issue is affecting. I am standing before you today to show my support of this resolution. I believe we must do what we can to take action against climate injustice, and we need your support. The health and well-being of my fellow students and community members is important to me and is in the hands of you. I am saddened by the lack of attention and support myself and fellow youth have received on this issue. We feel disappointed and unheard. Our voices are strong and impactful, and it is important for you to understand and act on that. To protect your community and students within the SUHSD, we please request that you add our resolution to the voting agenda. I am grateful for your time and hope to experience your support. Thank you.
Brielle Barbian.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Brielle Barbiero and I am a senior at Otay Ranch High School. I am just one of the many students who know the truth behind fracking and the danger it is putting this earth in. Although this technology has been promoted, practiced, and enforced by the government for decades, there's only so much more this planet can handle. I am incredibly pleased to say that I agree with this resolution at hand because it is effective and quite the alternative. Fracking entails a very high demand for water, meaning we will be preserving a great deal of H2O that can be put forth any other government projects or simply for the public. This climate crisis will take an entire team, and that is exactly why it is crucial to get this district involved. The lack of response by the school board evokes a great deal of disappointment from the students in the Sweetwater district and a growing frustration at the lack of climate action. We believe in adding this resolution to the voting agenda as a way to relieve student frustration and take a step forward to climate action. We as a youth of the district are the future. We are asking the board members to listen. Please think about your children, family, and future students. This change will bring positive change into our community and support future communities that are suffering under the terrors of fracking. Thank you.
Sofia Ponce.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sofia Ponce, and I'm a 12th grader at Bonita Vista High School. In addition, I'm secretary at my eco club at BVH. I agree with the resolution because I believe that it will bring good impact to the community, such as ending oil fracking in BIPOC communities in my area. But I am disappointed and saddened by the lack of response by the school board members, because students, including I and others, want to have a better future for all of us. And it's sad to see that we aren't heard from the adults or the older generations. It would be wonderful if the older generations came to help our resolution come to life and start taking the action it deserves. Students are taking their time out of their fall break to come to speak about this major issue of oil fracking in our communities. This shows how much of our youth cares about this issue, and hopefully for the adults and older generations to realize that change needs to happen and it needs to start now. In addition, which is why the adults and older generations need to take action along with our generation to end oil fracking in communities. As small of a change it might mean to you, it means something more to the youth, the environment, and our community in general. And it's one step closer to decreasing climate change. Thank you for listening.
Michelle Alano.
Good afternoon. It's amazing what a difference a year makes. We were here about a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic broke out. We met with Mr. Aguirre about requesting information on how to go about building a pool at East Lake High School. Now, I sat here for about half an hour, and I'm in awe at the issues that you have to deal with, from discipline to dress code to employee morale. So compared to that, a pool for East Lake High School, where the funds are already available, seems like a really small ask. And what we're here to ask is your support and direction and how to put this pool in the priority list of projects. I reviewed your budget last month, and it's amazing also what a difference a year makes. A year ago, you were talking about massive deficits, and now that is not the case. So we're here asking your support and direction on how can we meet with the appropriate people so that we can move this project along. I think people will make the case. There's so many benefits. I really don't see any downside. The funds are there. It's a safety issue. It's an equity issue for our students who are largely minority, and a lot of them might not have access to pools and resources that can improve their chances of getting scholarships or employment at the beaches and the large areas. So again, I'm here to commend all the work you do and ask for your support and direction, and how can we get this information. I'll be here every month. I've been recruited to be here every month and speaking of this option issue, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. I do like to make progress. So direct us in the right direction, and we won't be here taking your time, because I'm sure you don't want to go home at 10 o'clock. So please help us, and we'll meet with the right person, and we let us know what we need to do, and we'll be out of here. But thank you so much.
Connie Leon.
I'm here. Good morning. Good evening. I'm here in regards to the pool also at East Lake. I have a son who currently plays water polo, and during the pandemic, that was what helped his mental state be stable. He was able to get out there and swim. But my concern is not only for my son, but for the students who don't have transportation. We had to take them all the way to National City. Currently, we're at Southwestern, but our times are dependent on what the college offers and what's available. And by the time they get home, he gets home late. It's 11 o'clock at night. By the time he has dinner, he has to do homework. But my concern is also the students who don't have transportation. I'm a parent who I have the time. I'm able to take my son to those practices. But what about the equity for the students who can't make it to those practices and the parents are not available? Another thing I also wanted to mention is the swimming. If they could become lifeguards at the rec centers, they could become lifeguards at the beaches. We're so close to the beach, but yet this opportunity isn't available for our students. There's a pool on the west side, but there's not one on the east side. You've built 4 new high schools in the last 30 years, and not a pool's there. But yet, Mar Vista, this is their second renovation for their pool, and yet we still don't have one. I know our communities have lots of pools, but those pools aren't for the schools. So we need to have a pool available for all of our students and to make sure it's equitable for both sides. One more thing. Let's see. So yeah, that's my point. We really need a pool on that side to make it available for our students to be competitive, because football's not only important, but also the aquatic sports, which is it's a sport that hasn't really been taken into big consideration. We've always had to get whatever's left from everybody else and borrow. We had to borrow somebody's pool, and it's time that we have our own pool. Thank you.
Jenny Scheit? Oh, sure. Stuart Sokol?
Good evening, Board. My name is Stuart Sokol. I am a 2012 graduate of Hilltop High School. My dad is a 1982 graduate of Hilltop High School. We both played in Parkway Pool, and while I love that pool, it is overall a puddle. It is too small to host CIF games. And now coaching Eastlake, we are not there, but we've had to be at Las Palmas, and we're very grateful that Las Palmas can host us. Very grateful for actually, we spent 2 weeks there at the beginning of the season because pools were not available. Southwestern was not open and up and running. And so in addition to CIF requirements for having our playoff games, just the access to pools. If all these pools go down, Loma Verde, I don't know if you know, right now is closed for renovation. It's gonna take 1.5 years, 2 years, probably 2.5. Construction never goes on time. If Southwestern has to close for whatever reason, we don't really have a place to go. Or at least amongst the district, it's not really that effective to cram multiple teams into certain facilities and then to have 90-minute practices. So we had 90-minute practices for the first month. And while that's great to be in the water, I was losing 12.5 hours a week, which is, 12.5 hours in the month. I'm losing over a week. Basically, if that extended through the whole season, that would have been, I would have only practiced, 8 or 9 weeks out of the 13 that we should have been practicing. And then transportation. Transportation for the parents that can make it is huge. That's great, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But for some kids, they just can't do it. I mean, our coach used to say, okay, Hilltop, you got to walk to Parkway. He would walk with them the first day. You can do that walk. Walking from Eastlake to Southwestern is not quite doable. Walking from Otay to Southwestern, Otay's also there. Olympian's there. That's not quite as doable. Bonita Vista, sure, they're across the street. But just having access to that pool, I mean, again, aquatics, I myself am much more geared towards water polo. But even swimming, Connie talked about mental health. I jump in the pool within 200 yards of swimming, all my problems are gone. I could be all frustrated, angry, whatever. I swim 200 yards, takes about 4 minutes, 5 minutes if you're going slow, totally relaxed. So the money's out there. Let's get the ball rolling on this. Let's get that pool built. Thank you.
William Leon?
Hello, my name is William Leon, and I am a sophomore at Eastlake High School.
You can pull the mic up higher.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I am a sophomore at Eastlake High School. I am doing swim and water polo, and first of all, last year was a bit of a hassle because of COVID, and since we don't have our own pool, we had to go to different pools in like different areas, trying to find different time slots for us to swim at or do our practices. It was really confusing a bit because after a certain amount of time they will kick us out, and we had to move to a different spot. So I'd say if we had our pool at Eastlake, we won't have to worry about the time slots and what different schools were using that pool. Thank you.
Jenny Scheit?
Good afternoon, evening. I'm back again. As you can tell, this is something that we are passionate about. This is something that we really want. This is something that the community wants. This is something that is good for our kids. As Michelle said earlier, this is an easy win. Take the low-hanging fruit. We have the money. You have over 900 signatures of people who want the pool. I have over some of my research that I have here. I will Dan was nice enough to scan in the petitions of the names, all 900 of them. I will also scan in all these documents that I have, original source documents, so you can see all of my research. Document 1 is we have the money. As of June 30th, we have $44 million in CFD1. Document 2 is the foundation documents of CFD1. I'm not sure, you guys have 20 different CDFs here and they're all confusing, so I actually printed it out. Luckily, paragraph 5 is super easy to understand. It says that money is to go to Eastlake High School and Eastlake Middle. No legalese. It is that straightforward. Document 3, the FCMAT report. The conclusion on page 43 identified violations in internal borrowing and transfer of funds. So, and you guys have been great. I talked with the San Diego County Board of Education, and he said for over a year and a half, you guys have not borrowed after Melloru's funds, which means those funds should be used for what they were meant for. Document 4 is, it's actually a news report, which shows that over $46 million of our CDF has gone to other projects. So $18 million went to Olympian, $14 million went to Otay Ranch and San Ysidro, $10 million to Rancho. It's time to put the money to Eastlake Middle, or Eastlake High School, actually both. It's a 30-year-old school. It needs a pool. If you're asking about why Eastlake, according to CIF numbers, Eastlake has more than double the amount of water athletes, more than 100 water athletes than any other school. It makes sense. Eastlake also has over 500 more students than any other high school on the east side. You put a $10 million pool in Eastlake, you're going to serve more people. It's more bang for your buck. We have the money. We have the space. There is a blacktop area, which I also include. It is the size of 8 blacktops. That's 37,000 square feet. A soccer field is 60,000 square feet. If you put that into a field, that's half a field. Who wants to practice in half a field? In fact, the only team that I know of that has to practice in half a field is water polo, and you just heard them talk about it. We deserve our pool. Another cool thing about doing the blacktop is it's close to the gym. I've also included a price per square foot of the pool. It is $220 a square foot for the pool and $440 square foot for the buildings. So the less buildings we use, the cheaper the pool. If we put the pool by the blacktop, it's close to the gym. It makes sense. We want it. Thank you for your time.
There are no further speakers, Mr. President.
Thank you. Clerk of the board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I have one correction to read. On board agenda item G2, the St. Pius Catholic School should be listed as a private school, not a non-public school. The item will be updated on Novus upon approval. The following items have been pulled. Item F3 by staff, item G2 by Mrs. Hall, item G5 by Mrs. Hall, item H1 by Mrs. Hall, item J1 has been withdrawn by staff, and item N3 by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Vote.
Stubblefield?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Let's move to F3. Board report on board request for information and public policy direction to staff and board communications. Who would like to go first? Anyone? 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 Bueller? Bueller?
Well, I'll
Sorry
go.
about that.
I'll go.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone, Superintendent Aguirre, for your really understanding where we are with all the challenges around distance learning and coming back in person, and I hearing all the comments from the teachers, I would ask that you look into the staff professional development. I think there has been work, is my understanding, from what we learned at our at last meeting's presentation on suicide prevention. We were also hearing about some of the professional development and the plans for providing wellness supports at every school. So I'd like to hear more about that and how that's moving forward, and also including professional development, as was stated, for restorative practices and the wellness of staff and students, and how we're going to proceed, because we are hearing that there are incidents where kids have been locked up for a year, right, with COVID and all the physical distancing, and there probably is a lot of need for ways to support them coming back in and to ensure that everyone is safe, and kind of character building with the safety and respect, those kinds of trainings. What is planned on the calendar for this year? I'd like to learn more about that. And also regarding the young people that spoke passionately about a resolution, I just want to state that I have had no emails. I haven't seen an email from anybody on that.
Absolutely right.
And normally,
That's what I was concerned. Thank you for bringing that up, Trustee Hall.
right, I haven't heard anything about it. So I mean, I'm very much, when I was a high school sophomore, we had that's when ecology and really the environmental concerns about where we were going as a society and the materialism that we have really was starting out back then. And through my college years, I studied on that. So I mean, my grandmother used to recycle our lunch bags and the wrappers that she wrapped up our sandwiches in. So we had to bring those home every day when I was a little kid in second grade. So, we are environmentally conscientious. Not everybody that's older is oblivious to that. Many of us have been working our lives around that. I would like to hear more about the resolution. Normally our resolutions are geared more to the, to how instruction or schools and things like that. But I'm not opposed to looking at this, because obviously the wellness of our planet will affect our students and in the future of our society. So I think that's a good thing to learn more about. And I would welcome us getting a copy of the resolution and discussing that as a board in the near future. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Anyone else at the meeting? I only can see Mr. Tarantino.
I think Mr. Solis had his hand up first.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate, Ms. Hall, your comments. Yeah, I too hadn't received any emails about it, but I did hear about the students. They were walking and chanting in front of my sister-in-law's house. So I had heard in that respect, but not any emails. But yes, like Ms. Hall, I'd be willing to see the resolution, because a healthy planet, it'll help our kids now and in the future. So, and I really appreciate the kids coming out and being passionate about it. So thank you for that. And I too wanted to thank our teachers and our staff and everybody for working hard. And I'm really hoping that they're taking advantage of these 2 weeks to take it easy. I know it's hard, but please do what you can to rest up. And we really appreciate all you do for the students. And if we could see what else, what we can do to help with the fatigue and the burnout, because we don't want that. And we need you guys 100% to help our kids. So thank you for all you all do. And I'm sure we'll be getting something in to help out. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Solis. Mr. Tarantino, did you have something, sir?
Yes, I do. I'd like to congratulate Isabella Blakely from Eastlake Middle, who was awarded the first place in the Otay District annual Water Conservation Art Contest. And so congratulations to Isabella. Also like to congratulate Castle Park Middle teacher Sarah Kinsey for being recognized at the 18th Annual Innovation in Education Awards banquet presented by the Classroom of the Future. She received San Diego County Office of Education's Innovative Teacher Award for her contributions to innovations in education in the Sweetwater Union High School District. Last of all, I'd like to congratulate Joshua Scott from Eastlake High School, who was named as a semifinalist in the 67th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. He is one of 2,100 students, semifinalists, named in California, and one of the 16,000 who were named nationwide. We wish you all the best, Joshua, as you move forward in this selection process. And I do have one request. Time is going by, and we only have 3 regular board meetings before our organizational meeting in December. And sometime in October, I would like to request that we have an agenda item to discuss moving next year to a 1 board meeting a month as opposed to 2 board meetings a month. I think our agendas are now at the point where we can fit all of the information into 1 meeting. And in this presentation, or in this discussion, I'd like to know some of the parameters in terms of when the meeting would be offered, because right now we're meeting on the 2nd and 4th. I don't know if we would choose one of those dates to continue. Also, we have Ms. Vista, who probably has the organizational history in terms of what happened before we all came on board in terms of the 1 meeting a month, and how that was framed, how it was decided, and some of the components and possibly some of the pitfalls that were evident in the 1 meeting a month. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Out in CDA, did you have something? I can't see you.
No, I do, and this issue of campus climate has been one on my head for about 2 months, and I've been concerned about it, and I've been in correct communication with the superintendent about it. There's the dual issue of trying to this issue of staffing that we've been experiencing for the across the district, which is an obvious need in order to be able to help. But it's also the fact of, what can we do as stopgap measures in between then? And I think that we're at the moment where we kind of have to explore stopgap measures to be able to help at least maintain a certain sense of calmness at the campus. And so we do get a chance to breathe. I think that's one of the things that the teachers are bringing up. And the issues of vandalism, that results from TikTok challenges and people, stealing and vandalizing school properties needs to stop. This is something that we have to actually find a way, parents and community members, to help us mitigate those types of acts of vandalism towards our school. But teachers, I hear you with regards to the campus climate. I've been actually steadily trying to be able to make sure that we address that, because I think that's a real issue, and because it's not only a burnout from the anxiety that we feel going back to classes, but then it's what do I need to do on top of that to be able to just maintain a sense of decorum or classroom management, and that's not acceptable. I mean, that's something that we need to be able to reel in. We know that we are putting in the efforts that you need to. Unfortunately, as much as we planned, the labor shortage is a real labor shortage, and every place from McDonald's on up to Sweetwater Union High School District is facing that, and we've been facing that even before we came back to school. So I just know that you're being heard, And as far as I actually, let's put the resolution, if we can get a review of the resolution from the students from Bonita Vista and Hilltop, and I think it's Otay Ranch, right? We should look at that resolution. I wholeheartedly agree with Trustee Tarantino's suggestion that we move to one meeting a month. And I guess that's it. I'm sorry. I'll stop right now.
Thank you, Dr. Adencibi. I would just like to comment that I appreciate the students from Bonita Vista and coming in and talking about their enviro resolution. If they have one, please leave it there. I don't recall seeing one via email, but maybe it got filtered out. I worked for Electrical Workers Union, where I worked for a number of years in trying to reduce to increase the number of electric cars on the road, and with the cardboard directly in regards to bus electrification. And so I might be old, but I still support that and understand that that's very critical. And I'm very glad that you're there, if you're still there, advocating for it, because you're the ones who need to be the loudest, because it's what you're going to inherit, and I truly appreciate that. But I'd love to see that, and maybe we could tie that not only to what you addressed that I've heard from the mic, but also into what we're doing at our schools locally in terms of recycling and that sort of thing. So I don't know, but I'd love to see that. I do have a request, and my request would be to Dr. Aguirre, if we could set up some tours of successful CTE programs in our county. I know of one of East Escondido High School, and any other ones that we could possibly see. I'd really appreciate that. I know we have room for improvement in what we do, and I just appreciate if we could set that up. And in regards to, I think the board members have spoken a lot already on our teachers, and and hope that and I'm sure you'll be speaking with them and on the burnout. I totally can get that. And I know we thank them all the time, but they really need the support. And if you could just let us know, what we are doing for support and what we can do, if you could reach out to them and what we can do to improve that. I know that'd be greatly appreciated, and including there were some comments around they felt like they weren't getting support from the site admins. So if those things can be addressed, I would truly appreciate that. I think that's all I have in my comments for F3. We can now move to G2, which was pulled by Trustee Hall.
Thank you, President Segura. Yes, I pulled this item because, and I want to thank Ms. Vicedo for her comment when we were approving the agenda, that this has a correction in the summary. Because St. Pius is not a non-public school, there's a big difference between a private nonprofit school that is eligible for equitable services under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and a non-public school, which serves many of our students, but which we contract with to provide those services to our students in the educational setting that they do that in. Some of those students are housed by those non-publics. So I was pulling the item to make sure that we recognize that, and that correction was made in this item. So thank you. And with that, I'll motion for an approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Stubblefield?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I pulled G5.
Thank you. Yes, we'll move to G5.
Yes, and my request on this one is that if we could ask the superintendent to request the criteria from UCSD, their selection criteria for how they select the schools that participate in this, and with the thought that maybe we could expand it if that's any possible way, but I would at least like to understand how they determine these schools would be selected for those services. Thank you.
Move to approve.
That's it. Oh, yes, and
Do I
with
have a
that, I'll
motion?
move to approve. Yes.
I will second it myself. Thank you very much. Let's vote.
Stubblefield?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, H1 pulled by Trustee Hall, construction consultant agreements.
Yes.
No,
This
H1.
H1 was the middle school sports agreements with our a couple of our feeder districts. And
Read the wrong
what
letter.
my questions were around, it's my understanding that they billed for these services. I was asking about what was included in those calculations for how that billing was determined, the amount that is billed for each district. And when was that calculation done? The projected amount of the cost around it. I think I received part of the answer, but I would like to know exactly when, and the actual formula, I'd like to see it, how they determined the amounts. So if that could be provided in a Friday update, I'd really appreciate it. And I can email more of that to clarify my asks to the superintendent. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Second.
Second.
All right, move to second and approve H1. Vote, please.
Stubblefield?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that moves us to N3, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Yes, I had a question, and I'm sure that all of the board members received this correspondence. We received correspondence from a stakeholder who said that, who questioned why we are canceling homecoming football games. And so I was not aware that we canceled homecoming football games, but then I thought I heard fireworks from Otay Ranch, which celebrated their homecoming 2 weeks ago. But my question is twofold. One, have we canceled high school homecoming football games? And if so, why are there on item N3, three high schools that have contracted to have fireworks?
Dr. Aguirre, go ahead.
Thank you, President Segura. So thank you for that question, Trustee Tarantino. And for that individual, I did provide a response. But where we are is homecoming football games have not been canceled. Homecoming dances were postponed for the month of September, given the surge that we were experiencing in COVID-19. So as a leadership team, we will be reconvening to take an assessment of where the current situation is. And the reason for that was because research has proven that the rate of transmission for COVID is much higher when there's activity indoors compared to outdoors. So that's why the homecoming football games were allowed, but dances, which generally occur indoors, were not. So we will examine this further, but I want to make sure I respond to that question so that there's a clear understanding of where we currently stand.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre. That was my purpose in asking it, so like that the public would know where we stand and that we really didn't cancel homecoming football games.
Do you have a motion to approve N?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved in second, and thank you for that question, Mr. Tarantino. Vote, please.
Stubblefield?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall? Did we lose Mrs. Hall? Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Got it. Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, by my scorecard, I think that was the last one, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if I might add, I mentioned about, the teachers needing support. I know everybody needs support. Students need support, admin needs support, our district staff needs support. I need support. So I truly appreciate, any support that we can give to everybody. I know that's a big ask, but with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.